Today is Tuesday after Anzac weekend. It's the first day after level 4 lockdown of the coronavirus, and I've got more background noise than normal. There's some tree felling operation that you might hear start up. I think they've stopped for lunch at the moment. Neighbour's actually doing some roofing, so that's not ideal. But anyway, what we're here for today is to look at pruning tools. I notice that there is not a lot of information in the level 3 pruning 1 workbook relating to pruning tools. So what I've got laid out here is some general tools that arborists will use to prune shrubs and trees. Starting with the first items, we've got two types of secateurs here. This one here is, well actually they're both bypass secateurs. Cutting blades bypass each other. So the only difference between these two sets is that these Falco ones have a rotating lower handle, which means that it's just more ergonomic when you are using them. You don't tend to get blisters on your hands if you're doing a lot of secateur work. Most common piece of equipment that's used for pruning shrubs and trees is a handsaw. So I've got 4 different types of handsaws here. Smallest one I've got today is 200mm Husqvarna branded folding saw. So you've actually got to press the notch here, open it up. It's got 2 settings, and then it locks. You've got to press it again. Oh, maybe it's got 3 settings. It's got 3 settings. So you can see there that it's straight. Probably you'd use it in that configuration. A tree climber is not normally going to use a folding handsaw because it's just a bit of a pain to pull it out and then open it up. But quite useful on the ground. I used to have a smaller one. It was a bit lighter than this that I'd take tramping at times too, and it was good for firewood collecting, etc. Normally an arborist will use something like this. This is a Silky branded saw. It's a Zubat model, and the curved variety, relatively light. It locks into its custom made scabbard, and that will just hang onto a harness like so. So it's easily accessible. Bang, ready to go. So these 3 are actually much of a muchness. This one here is just a bit bigger. I think that one's 300mm, that one's 360 Sugoi. I quite like this one because you can prune a lot of stuff with that you would have to start using a chainsaw for. Had a replacement blade on that. The scabbard is getting a bit rickety. This one's quite nice. It's kind of an American style, and you can see the teeth on that are quite different. It's a Fanco, wooden handle, plywood handle, and leather scabbard, so probably a little bit more environmentally friendly than the plastic scabbard and handled Japanese made Silkies. It's also got a catch on here where if you've got an additional little secateurs scabbard, you could have that attached onto the outside there as well, so that's quite good. It's actually quite a nice saw, that too. What we used to use when I first started in the industry was a bow saw. It's this one's quite a large one. The smaller ones are probably about that size, and they were quite good. You could do a lot of cutting with them. They would hang below you on a scabbard, and for a learner climber it was actually quite good to get used to that hanging below you, just like a chainsaw hangs below. Not really commonly used these days. Well, I do know an arborist that when he was an apprentice he had to use a bow saw for the first year of his apprenticeship before they would give him a chainsaw up a tree. And I can see some sense in that philosophy. I have witnessed people using builder's saws, not the best type of saw to be using. They're a bit flexible, and the other thing is they are designed for cutting dry wood. The pitch of the cutters is very fine compared to a tree pruning saw, which is primarily designed for cutting live wood. The other big difference between these two saws is that these silkies are a pull saw, so it only cuts on the return stroke, whereas this building saw, they're not all like this, but this one, it cuts on the push stroke, so that's quite a different action. And that's something that catches people out when they first start using these pruning saws, is if they've done a lot of hand sawing with a builder's saw, then it's got quite a different feel. A couple of other items that are quite useful. So these are loppers, same action as a set of secateurs with the overlapping blades, cross-cut blades. This is Falco brand again, Swiss made, top quality. Really good for pruning the larger parts in a shrub that just a bit big for a set of secateurs. You've obviously got that extra leverage, so you can cut much larger size branches. And the shears, so these are hedge shears, just good for trimming a very small hedge, rounding over small shrubs. So the hedge shears are used for hedge trimming, obviously, and they have a crossover action just as the secateurs do in the loppers, but they're cutting more in one stroke, but obviously you can't cut large parts, you've got to cut just leafy or green wood. One other item that's commonly used is a pole saw. So this is an extendable pole saw, pulse pruner. This one's a pole pruner. Again, it's a cross-cut action. Here we've got a 3-to-1 pulley system, so you actually get quite a good leverage on that. It's quite slow action, but it takes a sharp snap to make the cut. With this particular pole pruner, there is a saw blade that goes onto it as well, and that can be quite useful for that larger size. That has two different angles. That's about it. So these are all hand tools. Not looking at chainsaws today. We'll look at that at some other stage. So if you've got any questions about hand tools, please put those in the discussion below.